How you guys doing? Chris Ignato here. You're watching Nature Now. So, 2 or 3 days ago it was 70 degrees. We were wearing short sleeve shirts and people were in shorts and stuff. And now it is 31 degrees. It just started snowing about 20 minutes ago. First actual snowfall of the year. That's the fire department. You know, when it starts snowing, there's all sorts of accidents and whatnot. But so the snow's starting now. First they were saying 7 inches, then 11, then 13, then almost 15 inches. Now they're back down to like somewhere between 7 and 10 inches. Who knows? But so I'll try to record, once in a while and show you what it looks like. Those are big flakes. So it snowed pretty much all of yesterday, and at around 6 p.m. or 8 p.m., I don't remember when, it just started icing like mad. Lots of wind and ice. Massive snowflakes were falling before that, and then throughout the, after midnight, there's a lot more ice hitting, coming down and stuff. It was really nice. Had about, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 inches, but that ice compresses everything, and then today's sunlight has compressed more of the snow and melted it down. Very packy snow. It's good for snow forts. And anyways, took me a long time to get out today, but at least I get out now for about half an hour. Saying, being into nature and stuff and always exploring, I'm no stranger to falling into water now and then, sinking my feet into mud that I didn't know was there, or even quick gravel. No, I've yet to find quicksand, but I did find quick gravel once. But I gotta tell you, if you ever fall through ice or you get your feet really wet, you're walking out in the winter and you fall through, by the curb, you step into one of those raging rivers at the sides of the road, and things like that. If there's snow about, just immediately plunge the wet areas into the snow. If it's your whole body, just dive into the snow and roll around. Or if it's your feet, quickly submerge them in the snow like this. And what happens when you do that is the snow immediately soaks up that excess water, that excess moisture, and it keeps it from permeating your footwear and into your socks and feet. And I've done it so many times. It really works. It really helps. It's a good tip, so keep that in mind. You're walking along, you're on some ice or something, your foot falls through, you get a soaked foot, immediately plunge that into the snow and soak up that water. It's kind of like nature's towel. That's what grass is, isn't it? So there's some people with snowmobiles coming by right now, and that reminds me, back when I lived in Canada, there were snowmobiles. A lot of people had snowmobiles, which were the coolest thing ever. I never had one, but I've ridden on them a few times, and it was so exciting. We'd be sledding, exploring, and all sorts of fun stuff. And we had these hills right in front of our house, really big, long hills, especially if you're a kid. And so we built this massive ramp at the bottom of the hill, both hills actually, every single year. And these ramps were huge. They were like launch ramps. I mean, you would fly off these things and you could jump with your sled over a person's head. I'm not exaggerating. It was pretty awesome. And in Canada, there's these sleds, you know, the Super GT and GT Pro and stuff, which were on these skis, and they're elevated. The seat and everything's elevated, and you have a steering wheel. So those were like the elite sleds, you know, if you didn't have a snowmobile. They were just awesome. And we just had so many adventures. But I remember one time, there was a snowmobile coming along, and they were just flying along. And they went down the hill, and they decided to take on the ramp. And they did. They obliterated that ramp. It just exploded in a cloud of dust and powder. I was sad. But, you know, we rebuilt it. We always did. My older brother would help like pour water and stuff to like ice the slope. One of our slopes we actually had iced so that you would get some killer speeds going. It's really cool. I remember another time where I built this fort, or you know, my brother and I and one of my friends, I think, we built this fort that was just massive. This thing was huge, you know, it was a huge fort, and it had multiple rooms in it. And we had a front entrance, a rear exit, and we also had like a roof, a section in the roof that you could break away and get out in case of an emergency. You always had to cover the emergencies. And this fort was so big that we had furniture in it. We had a little table. I mean, it was like a bedstand type of table. And we had little chairs and stuff in there. That was so cool. I really miss those times. I mean, the snow would be pretty deep. At times, I'd climb up on the roof of a house and jump off into the snow. That's how deep the snow was. And you would get these drifts that were like, you know, 18 feet tall sometimes. You know, especially in January, you get these really intense snowstorms and ice storms and winds. We even had drifts, snow drifts, coming through the front door into the house after some of these blizzards. It was really cool. And we'd be playing all day long and doing stuff, and you'd come home in your snowsuit. You had to wear snowsuits because it was that intense at times. But as a kid, you didn't feel the cold. You were just excited all the time. But the snowsuits would be frozen when we'd take them off, and you could just stand them up on the floor. And we had a room designated for that stuff, you know, because all the snow and ice would melt, and there would be puddles there just throughout most of the winter. Really cool stuff. I loved the snow. And since I'm on the subject of snow, I have to admit I absolutely love driving in it. I gotta be one of the only people that actually finds it really calming and relaxing to drive in. Snow rocks. I mean, at night I feel like I'm in Millennium Falcon or something, jumping to light speed. And during the day, it's just a different element. And it's a lot of fun either way. I actually feel safe in the car. Safety has come a long way. So one place we lived in Canada was called Fergus, right? It was a Scottish town way out in the country. We had a really cool property. There was no one my age anywhere, you know. This one kid up the street would sometimes visit relatives or something. But there was this older lady across the street named Mrs. Cameron, Grandma Cameron. I used to hang out with her a lot. She showed me, you know, her garden. We'd go in the garden and pick beans and stuff and eat them all the time and just kind of hang out and eat. And then I'd get my little clipboard thinking I was going to be a naturalist, you know, and go around drawing, you know, things I found or intending to, and write notes and stuff. Usually that it would have my name and date at the top of the paper, and that's about it. But anyways, you would get these ice storms there. Our whole backyard was filled with trees, a lot like this, right? We had this giant deck that was like a story off the ground, and we had trees growing through it, 2 beech trees. It was pretty cool. But those ice storms would cover everything with this clear ice, and it looked like glass. Just everything was covered with this glass. It was beautiful. And the sun would come out and start to melt it just a little bit, and all this ice would just start to slip and fall off all the twigs and branches and bounce off of them on its way down, and it would sound like little glass chimes just all day long. It was such a beautiful sound to listen to, and it was a beautiful sight to behold. This is the tree where I found all those chicken of the woods mushrooms. As you can see, they're still on the tree, but they're all dried up and, you know, unpalatable at this point in time. But that was pretty impressive. You know, I'll show you a clip of that real quick. Another story, being Canada, as I said, you know, there was a lot of snow. Same with New York. I was born in upper state New York, right? So we had a lot of snow there. And the best storms were often the lake effect snow that you would get off the Great Lakes. That was pretty intense. I mean, I remember when we drive past Lake Ontario going to visit relatives in New York, you were driving past that thing for what felt like hours. I mean, I was a kid, but it was incredible. It was like the ocean. You know, it was this huge, massive, dark lake with waves and stuff on it. You know, it was incredible. But anyways, you get these good snowstorms. So needless to say, you didn't get as many snow days in Canada as you would, say, here in Pennsylvania, because snow was just a way of life, you know, in the winter. And sometimes you did, and I remember different times where a blizzard would kind of hit, or it wouldn't be a blizzard, but it would be a good storm while you're at school and trying to rock around corners and stuff. You'd be leaning into the wind, and all this, the air would just be white with snow. It was so fun, you know. But a lot of us would either walk to school or ride our bikes, and yes, me and some of my friends insist on riding our bikes even in the winter. Not the best idea, but it was a lot of fun, to say the least. You know, but there was always a school bus, and sometimes my mom would drive us too. But those storms, they were so fun, you know, with all that wind, and just looking out the window and seeing all that. And then Christmas, it was the best place for a kid to live during the Christmas season, because all the houses would be decorated with the Christmas lights, and there were those big bulbs that you used to have that were kind of frosted, and they looked gorgeous. And the snow would land on them, so all the snow would be glowing. The lights would be beneath the snow, and all the snow would just glow these beautiful colors, you know, and icicles everywhere and stuff. And in the shopping mall, Upper Canada Shopping Mall, which is actually where Jim Carrey was born, but that place was really cool. There was animatronics all throughout the mall, and you know, the whole lower floor was like Christmas themed. They always had some kind of thing going on there, you know, and there'd be this Christmas theme with Santa Claus and the reindeer and little cottages and stuff set up that you could, some of them you could actually go in, and there'd be these animatronic elves and stuff peeking around corners and looking out, you know, from within trees and stuff. It was just nothing but pure adventure the whole time. There was another time where there was a cowboy festival or something going on at the mall, and I mean, there was a rodeo within the mall. There were, you know, all sorts of horses and cowboys doing the stuff with their lariats or their lassos. I remember this one cowboy, he had his 2 6-shooters. He actually had guns on him. I mean, you know, most cowboys don't do that. Just to let you people in other countries know, we're not cowboys in this country, like some people think we are. And, but he had them, and I was like, hey, you know, and he had these really beautiful knives, and I collected knives, you know. And I was like, walked up to him, and he was very kind, and I was like, can I see your knives? Because he had this really nice silver one, and he was really nice. He took it out, and he's like, yeah, you know, he had a little story for each one and showed them to me. He let me hold them, which, you know, for me, being like 12 years old or something, or 11, it was like meeting a famous person, a celebrity, and he's letting me look at his stuff, you know. He didn't let me hold his guns or anything, though. Not that I asked. But it was a cool place to grow up. It was a cool place to grow up. Okay, so I went out to explore and film a little bit of snow, and somehow wound up telling a few stories. Some of them had nothing to do with snow or winter. Hope you guys didn't mind this video too much. I'm just filled with stories. Everywhere I go and everywhere I look, I have a story. But anyways, I'll try to upload another one very soon. A lot of very, very difficult things have been happening in my life, and it's really hard. But reading the comments from you viewers and my friends that I've known a lot of you for years now, is really heartwarming. It really helps me get through some of the stuff. And I've got a few really close friends that help me. And a nice family, you know. If it wasn't for that, I don't know how I'd even be here today. But thanks so much. And well, if you like the stories, I probably have more. And if you're local, you know, people do hire me for nature walks. You know, I have stories during all my walks. Everything I find, I'll teach about the stuff, and I also tell stories about, you know, one time I was with this, or one time I was up in the mountains and it started pouring, and I sewed a raincoat using burdock leaves and grass. I had to, you know what? I'm starting a story again. Thanks a lot. I'm Chris Ignato, signing out. One more quick thing. If you ever see me in person, why not ask me about my ski story? I cannot believe I'm still alive. There's a little mouse over here.